Time for us to talk sports on the show. A lot to talk about football, but today on the show we are moving completely away from football, and I'm going to just run through this. It says the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Handball Association, Jibril Saidu, has called on the Ministry of Youth and Sports to be willing and ready to diversify and give adequate attention to other sports other than football. Now, Saidu spoke to newsmen on the sidelines of a handball competition between the veterans and Swan FCT, as well as a media parley. He stated that the game was also suffering the lack of good leadership, adding that there was still the issue of disunity among stakeholders, which has stunted the growth of the game. Now, speaking on the occasion, the chairman, Undubeze Chidoka, said the activities such as these were necessary to expose the media more to the rules and regulation of the game. Unfortunately, I was not there. But then let's take a look at that report, and when we come back, we'll be engaging our guest here in the studio.
So the sporting body, which is the umpire of the game, Minister of Youth Sport and Ministry of Sport Development, are willing and ready to diversify the sport itself. And no sport, handball itself cannot go anywhere because we are still backward. We are backward in the sense that I believe since I am there, everybody must take instruction from me. Yes, and when you do that, from what has happened today, you are encouraging us, you are encouraging our youth, you are encouraging our lads to see that handball gets to there.
We've learned one or two things from them, ranging from the techniques of the game and the rules, and even how to shoot, how to leave the ball, and other techniques in handball.
Welcome back. That was the game that was played between members of the association and, of course, SWAN as well, that's Sports Writers Association of Nigeria. And in the studio today, I have the honor and pleasure of sitting with Saidu Jibril, the former Nigerian. He's a former Nigerian handball international. Yes, that means he played for the national team of Nigeria. You need to understand that. Now, he's a Secretary General, Commonwealth Handball Association Board member, North Central Handball Federation of Nigeria, and Chairman, Mega Veterans Handball Association of Nigeria. He's a chairman, Kogi State Handball. Wow, that is a long one. Saidu Jibril, thank you so much for coming on the program. I mean, the notice was pretty short, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now, I know before we came on air, I was actually telling you that in all of my years being exposed to sports, I've been to just in contact once with handball, and that had to do with the Benue team preparing for the National Sports Festival. Yes, the National Sports Festival. And I just went to see a friend of mine who was actually training at the time. For me, it seemed quite an interesting sport. But hey, who would you blame? In Nigeria, we're always talking about football. I think that is your major problem.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you and I appreciate your studio for having me. Well, as they see, most people just look at handball as an elite sport, but it is not. Handball has come a long way in Nigeria right from 1976. It came in through the military. And since then, the game has been growing and been growing until politics creep in, as you said, the politics that is creeping into sports, most especially in football. Politics creeping because we decided to allow it to happen. And sport is the only avenue where unity can be achieved in the world, not even in our own populace. Yeah. You can see with the advent of football, the problem Nigeria is facing today, most people try to douse down tension, pressure, trauma, because I want to go and watch football going on World Cup. And it douses their attention. And this is what we want people to understand, even our leaders, to know that with sport, large quantum number of our youths will calm down. This youth restiveness we are getting will go a long way to kind of reduce, because sports really gives employment opportunity to the youth. Because this is a place they go, they come for a longer duration, they stay there, they mingle among themselves, they share their common interests, they play the game. By the time they meet at the sports avenue, you see them exchanging their pleasantry. Oh, this is what happened in my country, this is what happened in my country. By so doing, we become friends. If tomorrow we become leaders of our various nations, that unity enshrined at the cost of meeting has given us a long and a unity that will sustain and will give it the world at large the greatest unity you don't understand. But when you stay, for example, in the Scandinavia, you are in Africa, you are in Oceania, you are in South America, you're on your own. But by the time you come together, you see that unity of diversity. And sport is the only avenue that you can understand that unity. Handball happens to be a game of energy sapping, a game of speed. And for you to really enjoy handball, you need energetic people. And you need tall and very sound, healthy people to do it. But with the advent of politics in the game these days, things are falling apart because we find ourselves not the way some of us started handball. I started the game in 1971-80, and my first tournament was in under 12 in Kwara in 1980-81. Thereby, from there, we now went to Bendel 81 National Sport Festival, where we were encouraged to play the game. We look at it as something very interesting. It goes along with our education. Today, I'm one of the major stakeholders in this sport. How do I become it? Because this sport has given me that avenue to know that rallying and having union with people gives me a long way, and it helped me to pursue my education to the highest level. And I find myself in a place that, yes, people reckon with me that, yes, this is somebody to reckon with because of this sport. I got there through scholarships. I got scholarship from state government, and I pursued my education through sport. That notwithstanding, I was playing for state, playing for the nation.
Then let's look at the fact that in that particular interview, you queried the fact that government may seem to have paid so much attention to football alone, you know. But we agree that football is one of the most popular sports, if not the most popular sports in the world as it stands. Would you blame the government for doing this?
Yes, we'll have to blame the government for doing this. Why? Because there are this level playing field. When you say you're investing into a single sport, even in the superpowers in sport, in soccer, you said, they give avenue to other sports. I want to tell you today in America, football is not as popular as American football. Football is not as popular as boxing. Football is not as popular as long tennis, but football still have a place in American society. When you go to Brazil, football is the #1 sport, but volleyball, handball, track and field event, they still have a place in the country of Brazil. Why is Nigeria relying on only one football? And if you look at it, like the state I chair, Kogi State, for example, only rely on football, and football has not brought laurel to the state. We, the handball club in Kogi State, have been able to present cups to the state government. So what is sport? You have to go and win honor for your state. And that's what I look at sport. Our sportsmen and women are assembled today in Asaba in the name of National Sport Festival. What did they all go there for? To garner laurels for their various states. And what does that mean? To show that this state is good in sporting activities. So if you say you are relying on football as the only entity sport, okay, thank God. Nigeria, you said it now. Nigeria did not qualify for the World Cup. That is the ultimate we are looking for. We have invested so much in sport. You just take a pinch of that what you've invested into football and spread it to other sports and see what will happen. Track and field event made us proud in Commonwealth Games. Please, was football there? If you look at what taekwondo, what wrestling, basketball, handball, they just came back, our lads just came back from Zone 3 International Handball Federation. We went with 2 teams, under 18, under 20. They went to Ivory Coast here. They made us proud. They came with the 2 trophies, but nobody will hear about that because they are not a popular sport.
Okay. But let me ask you this. Now, it's almost a year since you assumed the position of Secretary General, Commonwealth Handball Association. How far with the state of sports in the country? I know you've spoken a bit about that, about the state of handball in the country. But I want to tie this to the performance, or should I say, what the associations have done, and particularly the role the Honorable Minister of Sports has also played. Because recently, I recall at the Villa, the Minister of Sports was saying that a policy is going to be in place to ensure that every sport in Nigeria has a business tone to it. But what is your assessment looking at this period that you have been in office?
Well, I think that policy that just came out is a very nice policy that the government will have thrown out. But policy thrown out, implementation and sustainability is what we should really look at. Is the country going to sustain what they've just published? Are we ready to stand by it? Because tomorrow, if somebody comes out to say, okay, I want to ensure this sport remains like this, whether they'll be given opportunity to stand on their own, you know the problem of Nigerian backstabbing. The people in authority might know I want you to go higher and higher. What indirects me is they are trying to privatize sport. That is what the summary I read from that policy. If you want to privatize sport, which means you are giving sport a level playing field to be like the normal business investment in the world that others goes in and invest into, it's a good policy. Very good policy. And those are the policies who will be crying for that. Please, if the government cannot invest into sport, please, they should create a level playing field for all sports to be able to see how they can harness or garner investment for themselves to be able to thrive in the society we find ourselves. And this opportunity has come out, but give us the do's and the don'ts so that when those who are willing to invest into it starts, there won't be this issue of we don't need this. You know what happened in this league, our local league, that what happened recently about between the sponsor and the NFF.
Yeah.
So we should, that's not what we should be talking about. EPL, La Liga, etc. You see they are flourishing because the level playing field have been given to the investors to run it. And we here in Nigeria, I can bet you belong to a club in Europe. You have a club that you so much love in Europe. I have a club. Others do have. Why is that so? Because a level playing field have been given to the sponsors and the investors to be able to make this game one of the best sports. We call football the best sport, if not one of the best, the only recognized sport in the world, because football has so far gotten so much investment, so much sponsors, so much support that no sport in the world have ever gotten. If my sport today, handball, gets a pinch of what football has gotten, I want to bet you would love to be in handball because it's an indoor event.
But then you see, people will argue that even when it comes, I understand that handball does not require the level of funding, or should I say space, that football would require. But then you can readily play football anywhere, but that's not the case with handball. Handball, you will need a court, a seemingly controlled environment, a court, a particular playing surface so that people do not get injured unnecessarily, knee guards and all of that. And with football, one can be barefooted and just, play. You can just play football just about anywhere, but that is not the case. But my question particularly is this, because in all of this that you have said, you're still looking at the issue of facilities. Where do you even want to start from? It's a question. If right now you even have all it takes to start up handball, where do you even want to start from? Because you also need to generate interest or catch the interest of people who would want to play the game of handball and all of that. Where would you start from?
Well, let me start from the backside where you said it. Handball can be played even in the parlor. Even where we are, you can create handball. We have beach handball. We have wheelchair handball. Handball don't need space like football, just as you said. Handball just need a mega space. We play beach handball without canvas shoes. And in canvas shoes, the equipment and the infrastructure are so minute, just small. You don't need much. Even the football pitch is even wider than the handball pitch. So when you talk of space, infrastructure for the game, it is more costless. And it is so interesting because anything that gives the heart opportunity to move and exercise the body, I think it makes you a healthy human being. Now, when you talk about the issue of the investment or how to garner what we need to take handball to the highest level, handball needs less. You see, the equipment that requires you to play handball is just very few. One, you need a canvas shoe, you need a short and a vest. Unlike football, today you cannot get a boot. A child who wants to start football need a boot to be a good footballer. But in handball, you can go to all these bend-down boutiques and you have a canvas shoe of 2,000, 1,500, 3,000. You can play the game even if you feel you cannot, you don't have that, go to beach handball. They play beach handball too. So what we are saying in the society, in the scheme of things, is that let the Minister of Youth and Sport Development come up with just what they've came up with to allow federations.
But he has just a few months to go.
Yes, we're not saying of him. It's a policy. It is an office. It's not the individual. The minister is an individual, but the office of the honorable minister is permanent in the scheme of policies in Nigeria. What we're saying, whatever he has done, that policy should be built upon by the next coming minister, so that things will continue where they stop. Because the game itself has a problem, because what the umpires of this game are doing, they create even more problems to the federations. How do they create more? Because they have who I like, who I preferred. You see, if you want to have a 11 play field, most especially even in the politics in sports, yes, thank God we're grateful they've given us the opportunity to politicize sports in Nigeria. Then they created an election avenue for us to choose our president.
Yeah.
They created opportunity to choose the members of the board members of the games. Do you give these federations a free hand to do what they want to do? You give them that privilege, but you tie their hand behind and handcuff it behind them. You tell me today, I am a board member of Handball Federation of Nigeria, but there is somebody behind who gives somebody that power to say, I am in charge. Do you think that if you have your organization today, you are all here to make this organization one of the best in Nigeria, and somebody is behind there calling himself the chief executive, that without me, this place cannot run?
So who is this person you're talking about? Who is this person, or why this group of people preventing the HFN from operating in the manner they should operate? Because I guess that is
it is not HFN. It's a policy of the Ministry of Youth and Sport Development. I'm not saying an individual. You see, once you have a policy in sport is generic. Sport don't have a fixed area. It is not handball alone. You have the same problem in judo. You have the same problem in taekwondo. You have the same problem in badminton. You have the same problem in volleyball. Let me tell you, why are sports going to court? That is the question you should ask. Why, after elections or any other thing, sports federations go to court?
I mean, if we see that even in the polity, then why not sports? I mean,
so
even elections are determined by
if
sports.
An interesting game where people are supposed to be unionized, and now they go to court, is that unionization? Then there's a problem hidden under somewhere that people are refusing to unfold. So those are the problems we want eradicated. Allow the level playing field. Allow people to do the right thing. And in my own sport, I made mention of issue of somebody who wants to believe I am in charge, I should take lead. Let me tell you, once you are a president of a federation and you decide to feel that I creeps into the board, then there is a problem. I am an entity within the board. The board is greater than me. The sport is greater than an individual. Until we believe that leadership is all about serving, not about master itself. You are a servant of those people you are serving. President Muhammadu Buhari today is a servant of Nigerians. But the way we look at things, we look at us, our servants, as our leader, as our Alpha and Omega.
Well, apparently you've highlighted some of the things I would have loved to ask, but let's now go to the grassroots. And I think for the success story of the HFN to be told, one will look at how much you've been able to develop the grassroots, because it is from there that you have talents that will go all the way to the national level. So what has the HFN done, the leadership of the HFN done, particularly in developing the game at this grassroots, despite all of these challenges?
Yes. I will kind of say the place we have more deficiencies in the youth development. In the senior level, I think there are two major tournaments ongoing in the country. The North Central Handball being organized by the zone, and which is very competitive among the zonal members. Over 17, 18 teams participate. Yeah. Then you have the energy, the Prudent Energy League being sponsored by Prudent Oil, Energy Oil. Okay. We have about 22 teams, 10 female, 12 male. I want to assure you that apart from the sponsorship of this Prudent Energy, none of the other categories of the game is as effective as these two tournaments. Why? Because policies of the federations are supposed to be rolled out and followed concurrently. You see, when you sit down at the comfort of your place and you feel that because this place is smooth for me, let me keep eating and drinking, then you abandon the other side that will outgrow you.
So are you saying that there are people siphoning funds meant for HFN?
You see,
quickly as we round up.
You see, when you say siphoning, if you have a sponsor and you cannot unveil certain things to your members. When I mean unveilment, what is the quantum of sponsor?
Okay.
Is that not something to understand?
Yeah.
I don't know. Members cannot tell you today. The board members cannot tell you that Prudent Energy gave us money. This is what we are getting.
Yeah.
This is the amount they've given us, and this is what we have gained from them. What it means is when you are in sponsor, you should be able to diversify and spread it downward and recognize that you need under 12, under 15, under 18, under 17, under 21. These are the crop of players you grow to take over from the senior. Now, this category have been let bare. You say, oh, because we don't have a sponsor. How do we get a sponsor? When the only sponsor we have not succeeded in spreading that money all through the ground. Until we allow this money to go down, if I am being paid a salary, do you mean I was okay, I will only pay my house rent? I'll forget feeding, I'll forget school fees of my children, I'll forget the health issue, I'll forget the welfare of the family? Impossible. So once you make a statement or once opportunity comes, opportunities are to spread all through the across the board. And once this is done, you have peace, you have happiness, you have collective bargaining all through. Everybody benefits, no matter how little. And that's why we say things are being done in the way of how I want it to be, not how it's supposed to be. Because we go to school to be able to learn and see how we make people happy, and that is the problem the country today is facing, because
I think
people are facing it.
That would be a good way to end the conversation. I wish we could go on and on. Apparently, there's so much to be said as far as the development of handball in Nigeria is concerned. I mean, it's really disturbing to see just how other sports in Nigeria, where we ordinarily should have huge potentials, are suffering. I mean, you can bear me witness with the fact that even in athletics, we've not been doing so well, if not for the fact that Toby Amosun and a few others have really taken it upon themselves to ensure that they do something, not just for themselves and also for the country. We probably would have been forgotten as far as athletics is concerned, and a whole lot of other sports, even basketball. We'll be talking about basketball in the not too distant future, but would like to especially thank Seydou Jibril for coming on the program today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And just so that you know, Seydou is the chairman, Kogi State Handball, and member Arbitration Commission of Confederation of African Handball. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be doing this again in the not too distant future. And that is all we can take this morning on sports updates. And we'll be back with the second segment, or the first segment of conversation on the program News Hub. Stay with us.